Hello, and welcome back to Cabincast Rambles with Oliver and Tan.
Hello.
We are here with another episode on Steven Universe, continuing Season 3 with Gem Drill.
Indeed. This is part 2 of the two-parter with 2 parts, of which the first part...
to no end that they do not give them names.
Of which the first part is Super Watermelon Island.
It is.
This continues, in fact, not even directly after, slightly before the end.
Yeah.
Because it repeats the same last line as in Super Watermelon from Waterwellen.
Yep. Use your words. Yeah, it does. Everything is breaking.
Yeah, it's all breaking and shaking and rocking about because it's the cluster, as we see on the board.
It is.
Which is the board that says cluster emerging. So that's happening. That was pretty quick.
Yep.
And Peridot is didn't want to wake him, I guess.
No.
She thought he was just sort of having a nice nap.
Mm-hmm.
Because Peridot doesn't know he was fighting a thingy.
No.
He was being part of the Melon Revolution or whatever.
Yeah,
against
something.
Malachite.
Indeed.
Who they were engaging in ritual sacrifice with? Who knows? I don't actually know.
Hard to say, yeah.
It's hard to say. And so Peridot is didn't interrupt his beauty sleep and decides to just shout at him when he's awake, which is fair enough.
Indeed.
The only one who understands the meaning of teamwork is Peridot.
Yeah. He's like, we've got to do without the other gems. Which is like, oh, well, shoot, it's a bit of a problem.
Yes, they've been building this whole drill thing together for the past
Little while, yeah.
All together, they've been building it, and unfortunately, just the wrong moment. 60% of the team are not there.
Not there.
It's just like any group project.
It really is.
Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Ha.
Except in this case, they do want to be there and they can't.
Yeah, it's not just a bad grade that's at stake. It's the entire Earth.
Also, the entire Earth, which Peridot points out. She's like, "Okay, Steven, this, it's gonna be good, right?" And Steven's like, "I'm not sure." And she's like, "You're not going to say that. You're going to say that we're going to do amazing and it's going to be a great time and we're going to solve everything." And then Steven says that and she's like, "Liar." Because, anyway, they get in the drill.
They do get in the drill.
And it spins.
It does spin. And it also turns out that the cluster's pretty far down. They're going to take a little while.
It is.
And also the cockpit's really small.
It is. At least Peridot has elevator music.
Yeah, they've been considerate. They knew Steven was going to want music, presumably.
Indeed.
And the big thing, of course, is that Steven's already kind of starting to freak out here.
Yep.
The claustrophobia ain't helping. The alien environment ain't helping.
Nope.
No human's ever been this far down.
Not at all.
No humans even been down, like, past the crust, which is only,
Yeah.
like, 15 kilometers deep
Mhm.
at most. Which is pretty wild, thinking about it. We've been into space. We've
Yeah.
sent probes outside the solar system, but
Mhm.
we haven't. Well, the deepest we've dug is the small Soviet borehole that kind of went pretty far down and then almost melted.
Yep. So we've dug not far that down really at all, and we know basically nothing about the ocean in comparison to space.
Yeah, maybe there is a moon goddess temple.
It's not impossible. That
Ever think
as
about
well.
that, NASA?
I mean, we do know more about space than we do the ocean, but we still don't know a lot about the moon. Like if it's actually a sentient life form or whatever that new moon film is about.
New moon
Um,
film.
there's a film about the moon, and it looks hilarious, to be honest. But that's besides the point. I think it's called a Moonfall or something. Yeah. So, they're going on down. They break through the Earth's crust into the mantle. I like how they kind of point out that how are you going to fit everyone in here anyway?
Yeah,
Because to be fair, the gems being hard-like constructs, they probably could all fit if they changed their form. But
which all of them except Peridot can do, and
indeed,
also Steven.
I don't think we've learnt about that yet, have we?
It's true.
It's that's coming up. That is a good episode though. Um, but yeah, I like how they point that out. It's like it's not that we knew that only these two are going to be going down the whole time. That we made it this size. It's just Peridot didn't think about it. Um, but yeah, we get some fun rock lessons.
We do. Um, only when it's on the surface is it lava. Before then, it is
Yeah,
magma. And at this
indeed.
moment, it is incredibly hot, molten. Part of it is peridot, made of peridot.
So superheated peridotite.
Peridotite.
Indeed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which, gets you thinking about what the heck are, like, regular rocks to
Yeah.
gems? You know?
Indeed.
If a gem looks at like a general bit of quartz that's just sort of vibing, is it like, oh my gosh, she's
Mhm.
dead?
Yeah.
What's happened? Or is it just like, I see, this is a piece of underutilized material.
Indeed. Yeah. But yeah, we get a really interesting. We also get. I missed the line where like, "What's the plan? We have a drill. We're gonna drill." Great plan. Great plan. There. But they talk about how yeah, it's peridotite's made out of the same stuff as peridots, and Peridot talks about how she didn't exist, and then she did.
Yeah, it's true. We've had, I don't know whether we've had that sort of, because I think Amethyst talked about it in the No Home Boys episode.
Yeah, I think briefly about her coming out of her hole and no one else being there.
Yeah, they hadn't. I don't think the gems had explained to Stephen that, like, gems just sort of go and then exist,
Yeah.
and so Amethyst kind of said that, but I guess it didn't really sink in for him,
Mhm.
which is fair. Um, but it seems like when gems are made, when they come out of the ground, they're basically like regular stones that have been injected with some kind of thing from the injector,
Yeah.
and that includes programming, I guess,
Sure.
is one way to put it,
Mhm.
which includes certain emotions towards the feelings of Homeworld.
Mhm.
and other things.
Yeah, like, it makes sense. Obviously, we're all from Earth, but they are literally from Homeworld. Like, they were a part of Homeworld, and they, like, remember feelings from that. Uh,
Maybe, maybe it
that
is partly.
that's how it sounds from listening to Peridot explain it just
Maybe
now.
it, maybe it is like they sort of have a literal connection to where they came from.
Yeah, because Peridot says it's hard to, like, not have that
Like
now or to not think
rocks.
about that.
Oh
Hey.
no.
Um, but how she's got, she's got something else now. She's got and then she starts to attempt to do the feeling talks, and it's awkward, but she's like, I've got you, and I've got the crystal gems now, and all of that stuff, so, it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
It's
personally, I
good.
don't feel a whole lot of sentimental value towards the hospital that I was born in,
Yeah.
whichever one that was.
That says it all.
I don't even know which one it was.
That's fair.
So I guess I'm slightly different from Gems in that
True.
one area. Just a little bit different.
Yeah.
To have that sort of culmination of the arc. Obviously, Peridot's not finished growing and
No.
changing, but it's nice to have
Yeah.
this bit.
Mhm.
But suddenly there are things in the magma,
There are
and
things.
they're like elbows and hands and stuff.
Mm. It's part of the cluster.
Yeah, or like previous experiments. Who knows? Some like little prototype gem experiments,
Mhm.
like we saw at the facility in the Prime Kindergarten earlier.
Yeah.
Oh well, a long time earlier. And they've just sort of been vibing in the lava because presumably they're made of something that's quite resistant to lava.
Yeah.
Um, and we get a little bit of explanation about what they are
Mhm.
after they bring out the blaster cannon.
The blast can,
Da-da-da-da-da.
which Steven uses to blast them with a little game controller. Which is cool, but he's like, I'm not sure about this. And then Peridot's like, then use the D-pad, but that's not what he meant.
Yeah, of course. I think it might be that the it might be experiencing like analog stick drift or something. The D-pad's not really going to help, I don't think. It's
No,
not quite accurate enough. But then it looks
no,
like an N64 controller, so maybe it's just old
it
firmware.
does. But beyond that, it's also not what Steven was talking about. Um, it's the fact that he wants to bubble them really and try and help them. He doesn't want to like hurt them and shoot them. But Peridot is pretty convinced that they're too far gone for this. They're too broken.
Yeah, exactly. So they are literally and figuratively broken,
Yeah.
right? They're sort of like nice slurpee. They're sort of like constantly looking. They are a force of constant seeking of who they used to be.
Yeah,
They want to become whole.
they
They
do.
want to find their old parts. It's
Mhm.
kind of obviously there's no direct parallel in real life because if you split a brain up, if you cut a brain apart, it'll probably just die. It won't look for itself.
Yeah.
But metaphorically,
Mhm.
they are sort of.
Metaphorically, people do it all the time, I'd say. I mean, I'd say we come back to it later with Lapis and Jasper. Um, people have Or with Secret Team when we had that. People find a connection, or a feeling or something that they experience from doing a certain thing or being with a certain person, and then they always want that. They want that back. Um, it's not quite the same as straight up losing a part of yourself and wanting that back, but it's along the same lines.
Yeah, it's a kind of seeking of the experiences they used to have.
Yeah.
Um, never quite satisfied.
No.
A tragic existence.
Indeed. It is very, very sad.
But these are
Uh,
like only a few gems. The
Small
cluster's going to be
ones,
bigger.
much bigger, lots larger, and then they come across some harder rock, and they find the cluster, as Peridot says.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
seems like they embedded this sort of layer of rock and put the
yeah.
cluster inside it,
Mhm.
and then put that inside the mantle somewhere.
Mhm. And it looks pretty cool. It's all like different colors and everything.
Yeah,
Uh, but it's also taking form.
you can see that this sort of acts a bit like liquid, kind of hard light, starting to sort of ripple around.
Mhm.
And just like when we see a gem take
Mhm.
form normally, you see like it goes outwards in white and then becomes like, pearl or amethyst or peridot or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's kind of what it's trying to do.
Mhm.
But you can sort of see that since it's lots of little cluster pieces,
Yeah.
they're all like little hands that are all reaching.
They are.
That sort of reaffirms that kind of constant seeking that we saw.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, to them it's too late now.
It is.
It almost seems like it's too late.
It does. And Peridot's like, I'm sorry I couldn't save you, Stephen, or the billions of other life forms who I care distinctly less about on this planet. Do you have any last words? Which is all very melodramatic of Peridot, but understandable. But then Stephen says, I love you, Peridot, because I mean it's Stephen, and of course he does. But then Peridot says, well, thanks. Which is what Stephen told her to say when someone
Oh,
gives you
I hadn't.
something you appreciate, or
I
she
hadn't. I
must
hadn't made that
appreciate him
connection.
saying that. I literally just did right now because we've been talking about these more, and I was like, oh, that's nice.
She said, "Well, thanks." Oh,
But luckily, the world does not end. It's still having trouble forming.
indeed, it is. It's
Yeah,
sort of it's going, and you hear little voices.
yeah, you do.
The cluster is voiced by a bunch of the actors and actresses that
Ah,
were voicing, the regular characters.
I did not know that, but that makes sense.
It makes sense because there's probably um, like
Pearls and all
quartzes,
sorts and courses in there, yeah.
maybe like a rose quartz, maybe like yeah, a ruby sapphire. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
A bunch of, I think it might have been subtly mentioned at one point that a lot of these cluster experiments were people who fell
Mm-hmm.
during the gem war on Earth.
I believe so, yeah.
So the shards of those people were collected, meaning some of those people might have been um, like crystal gems at one point.
Yeah, indeed.
It's like turning prisoners of war into Frankenstein's monster. It's a bit weird.
It's a bit weird.
A little bit of a war crime, I think.
I
Gonna
mean,
go
it
ahead.
it would be a war crime even if they were only using, the remains of their own people.
True.
Uh, it's it's almost as bad in another sense, I think. You've got, you know, you're not respecting the fallen who have been fighting for your cause, and you're not respecting those who fight against you, which, I mean, you don't have to respect, but that's should still be a war crime. So in either sense, it's very bad. Um,
Pretty bad.
yeah, there's quite a
Um,
lot to answer to for that, but anyway, drill.
the big part here is that Steven's perspective is that, like, this is a or many sentient being
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't seem to have much control over its actions.
Yep.
Um, and Peridot, on the other hand, is just seeing it as kind of a is it a means to an end? It's just a means to stopping the
She's just focused on
Earth
stopping the
from.
cluster.
Yeah, she doesn't want the Earth to be destroyed.
Steven is like connecting with it.
Exactly.
Also, at some point, one drill becomes three drills, and I have no idea how, but it does it.
It does.
I mean, when you see the whole big drill, it is kind of split into three parts, so I guess they come apart and just start spinning themselves, but I don't really know how that happens. Just one of those little things that doesn't really matter, but has always kind of irked me.
huh. Yeah, I guess so. That's fair.
Yeah, but I also do like how Peridot is like, but is the increased vibrations causing cognitive dissidence to her ear holes or something? Um, but like she's like, I need to apply more pressure. Are you going to be okay? Like, again, it's just really sweet to see that she does care about him.
Yeah, yeah. Now Steven's sort of extreme. His powers are tied to his emotions, and he's got a
Yep.
lot of empathy.
Mhm.
He's kind of feeling all of the feelings that the little shards in the cluster are feeling,
Yeah.
and so it's like hurting him
Yeah. It's
when
not
they
good.
drill the
Yeah.
shards.
Mhm.
And you can see like little pieces fly off when they're drilling.
Yeah. It is doing something.
It's doing something. I don't know if that would have actually
They wouldn't have worked.
done anything.
Definitely would not have worked. Because yeah, the drill starts breaking almost immediately as well. Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Okay.
Stephen is in a lot of pain and doesn't really know why.
In a heck of a lot of pain indeed.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, as you said, the drills start breaking off,
Mhm.
and Stephen's starting to sort of see things. He's starting to see the faces
Yep.
of these, like, I guess the ones that are dying, the ones that are being cut off,
Yeah.
floating up into the sky.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Mm.
Um, but he's just seeming pretty sick,
Yeah.
and he kind of gets jump scared. He gets jump scared
Yes.
by it, and bumps into Peridot, and they lose another drill.
They do.
And he sort of like his gem starts glowing, and
It
he
does.
looks like he's giving birth or something. It's a really strange little scene.
Yeah.
Uh, it's rumbling above me.
Indeed.
I don't know if you can hear it.
A little bit. Not really though.
Like, it
But
sounds
yeah,
like
the gem
having a
starts
party.
glowing.
Indeed, indeed. But
Mhm.
then it all sort of disappears. Peridot's gone, and Steven's just sort of floating
Yeah.
in a
Just
in a
different.
spacey world that's just got
Def-
like voices in it.
Yeah, and this will all end up fairly well, but for this part, it's definitely going on the Steven trauma list.
That's fair. I can understand that. The gem shards are just repeating the words have to, want to, need it,
Yep.
you know? That's
Yeah.
all that's all he's hearing.
Mhm.
And they are like sort of brokenly just sort of glowing slightly.
Yeah.
And since Steven's gem glows sometimes, you're like, oh, they're kind of similar in some ways, but very different in other ways.
Yeah. They keep glowing though, and then um yeah, and then um he tells them to stop because they're getting really loud and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. He asks them what they want,
And they go
and obviously
quiet,
they
and
say
then yeah, he asks
form.
them what they want.
And they're completely split up, but they
Mhm.
are unified in that one desire,
Yep. They wish to
which
be
is
together.
to form. They wish to become something, to make
Mhm.
something out of their existence.
Yep.
Because when they're just shards, they can't do anything. But if they form, I guess they're under this false assumption that they're going to be able to find whatever it is they're missing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit like
Because they need
a
to
sort
be
of
whole again.
toxic relationship,
Mhm. Exactly. Which again is, yeah, we'll see this with Jasper, because Jasper wants to refuse with Lapis and refuse with others because she felt stronger as that, and she wants to
Mm.
feel stronger as herself. And again, it's, yeah, not looking at yourself and like trying to solve the problem with something else. And like Steven says, fusing isn't gonna help you find the rest of your gem shards and become whole again. It's just gonna destroy the earth. And there's so many other gems around you that you can just meet each other.
Yeah, yeah, kind of. It's
Mm.
like, I mean, it obviously it is like, instead of having this one piece of meaning in your life, looking for, some thing that is going to
Yeah,
make your
exactly.
life have meaning. It's just sort of enjoying what they have in the situation they have. Obviously, it's a bit weird because it is just like fragments of people's minds and
Yeah.
billions of them.
Hmm.
So it is a level of abstraction
Yeah.
um, that is quite distinct from the human experience. But maybe there are some sort of allegories to it. She's and I don't, yeah, it's they sort of talk to each other a little bit. That's all they can talk. That's all they can
Yeah.
talk about. When he asks them to talk to each other, they're just like form, and then you're like, yeah, that's a
Hmm.
good idea. That's a good idea, buddy. I think you're onto something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and Stephen realizes
Hmm.
that they they are just like the little clusters that they saw earlier.
Yeah,
That
they are.
they just want to find the rest of
Yep,
themselves.
they do.
Um, and you can hear all the voices in the background saying
You can.
different things. They're reacting. It's quite difficult to understand.
Yeah.
And so I looked at the transcript because I couldn't understand the individual
Sure.
words they were saying. And it seems like they, you know, when Stephen's saying, don't do it, you'll destroy the Earth. The cluster's sort of reacting negatively to that, saying no.
Yeah.
And when they when Steven introduces the gems to each other and they start talking to each other, they
Mhm.
actually they're saying hello,
Yeah.
and
It's
and
quite
then they're
cool.
saying want to stay, and then they're saying help when they're accidentally starting to form.
Yeah.
And
And
these are things that I couldn't hear when I was,
yeah, I
you
could
know,
make out some of it, but not all of it.
yeah, very difficult.
Yeah.
But when you read the transcript, it sort of helps
Mhm.
a bit.
Indeed.
So
And
they were. You'd think that they're just like as they're fragments of people,
mhm.
they're just fragments, and they can only think about one thing. But actually, they do have other things that they
They
can
do.
partake in. They don't have to just be
Just all about forming.
as one, as a single shard. Maybe that is all that they can think about. But when they interact with another shard, suddenly they've got something to compare themselves to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're a little shard,
Mhm.
you might see the world as like there's me, shard, and there's the rest of me as things. But when as like the other shards of you. But if there's another shard, there you might see like there's me, and then there's also like there's not me. There's something here that isn't me and
Sure.
has its own life,
Yeah.
and I can interact with.
Yeah.
And they just needed a little nudge in that direction to
Mhm.
understand it.
Yeah,
People have
basically.
said it's a bit quick, that it goes a bit quick from wanting to form and then like not wanting to form.
Sure.
And I get that. It is only a 10-minute runtime for the
Mhm.
episode.
Yeah.
But it shows that really they only
They
needed
didn't
to
need
be
much.
made aware. It's like
Yeah.
with White Diamond,
Mhm.
which we'll talk about in years maybe. They
That'll
only
be fun.
needed a nudge.
Yeah.
The rest of it they did themselves.
Indeed, yeah. Everything they needed was right there.
Yeah.
They
All that
just
they needed was just a little to be made aware of something.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, so Steven starts trying to bubble them,
Yes.
which, you know, is pretty exhausting. But he can't do alone. And then he kind of wakes back up, and Peridot's very concerned. But he's like, they don't want to form. And they look out the window, and they see all the shards all bubbling each other,
Exactly. They
which
are
shards can bubble each other. That's pretty impressive.
presumably. I don't know how bubbling works, but it seems like they can sort of form bubbles around other gems and then sort of like merge them with other bubbles.
Seems like there's going to merge it all into one super bubble,
Exactly.
which
They're
becomes the plus
working
bubble.
together.
Hmm.
So they've gone from being individuals with a single one track mind into accepting that they're their own
Their own
collective
thing.
person
Yeah.
with a sort of collective unified sort of mind. It's like all the little cells in your brain
Yeah.
to get on their own ain't gonna do much.
No.
But together, I can
Yeah,
think about
indeed.
Steven Universe. Ooh,
It's true. You can.
it's like lots of little homunculi.
Hmm. And yeah. Success.
Success indeed.
Task failed successfully. Um,
They failed to destroy the
they
cluster.
did not destroy the cluster, but
Good job.
they did save the Earth,
Exactly.
which was the ultimate goal, really. And yeah, they managed to get to the surface. The drill climbs back out, Really is quite a feat of engineering that drill. Um, like the legs on the top of it, where were they hiding?
I don't actually know how they managed to get back out because, like, it's all liquid a lot of the
It
way.
has legs, like I was saying. So I imagine they climbed back up. It would have
Like
taken some
swimming.
time. Yeah, maybe. But considering that Garnet and Pearl and Amethyst only just get back, I assume it's taking some time. Because it's also probably taken some time for them to get back to another warp pad. But yeah, uh, they get back and they're like, "You're smiling. That bodes well, right? Everything's safe." Um, and yeah, it's like, no, we
Exactly.
talked to it and then we bubbled it and it doesn't want to destroy the Earth. Just wanted company,
Yeah.
which is a bit surprised. Pearl's like, "How did you bubble it? That makes no sense."
It
Um,
wasn't Stephen who bubbled
it
it.
wasn't
It
Steven who
was
bubbled it.
everyone and Stephen.
It was. And then we get a really cool look at the cluster just chilling in the
Yeah,
earth. Kind of looks like a gem itself now.
it kind of
A
does.
gold of gems. Yeah.
It's difficult to pin this as an allegory to anything, and obviously
Yeah.
not everything needs to be one.
No.
Because like billions of shards of people learning that they can talk to each other is a little bit out there.
It is. It is a little bit out there.
But going from a complete one-track mind of only wanting one thing,
Yep.
and then being told of all the endless possibilities
Yeah.
of just living in the moment
Indeed. Exactly.
is a bit like Peridot,
Yeah.
because she just wanted to leave Earth,
Mm-hmm.
and get back to her job, and that's all she wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then Steven showed her that Earth is pretty cool and has got a lot of cool things, and
It
that she
is.
can do other things that are not working for the diamonds,
Indeed. It's
like
true.
building a drill.
Like building a drill. Have you seen Soul?
The Pixar film?
Yes.
No, I haven't.
Should watch Soul. That'd be very interesting to discuss. Because that also has some. They're not identical, but there's some similar things in there. Pretty sure that's quite a philosophical film. I think.
Oh yeah,
Um,
is that the one
but
with
no,
jazz in it?
it is. It's the one with jazz in it. It is absolutely.
Uh,
But there's a lot more going on than just jazz. But the jazz is pretty cool. Um, another show that uses jazz, Steve Universe. Show I
Whoa!
never really realized it was jazz, but then there was a video I was watching on YouTube. This is a slight change of topic,
Sure.
but it is related. While I try and find that, also Lapis is with them. She seems to be unconscious, uh,
True.
but she is there,
She's not.
which is good.
She's not been poofed.
She has
She's
not
just sort
been
of
poofed.
sleeping.
She has not been bubbled. Yeah, she is just sleeping, which is uh
Yeah, this is like the whole of um season two.
mhm.
We've been building up. They've been wanting to find Malachite, find Lapis,
Yeah,
and stop the cluster.
yeah.
And
First episode does it all.
it's first two, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
first
a,
two.
it's a good climax, but it is also like the start of season three instead of the end of season two for some reason.
It is, which again I think is why in some situations the places where the season start and end are shuffled about. No, no, because it ended sooner, so it still makes no sense. Who knows? That's weird. But yeah, Charles Cornell, um, on YouTube, he's a music man. Uh, yeah, his description is just I make music out of stuff. It's pretty accurate. Um, but
Sure.
he like listens to music soundtracks, or he explains why one of the most recent one he did was why you can't hear this chord without crying, um, and all that, lots of that kind of stuff. But he did one as of when we're recording this, 11 days ago. It'll probably be a few months ago by the time you guys hear this listening, um, where he listens to some of the music and talks about how it's. I think it was jazz. It's going to be. I'm gonna feel really stupid if he wasn't talking about jazz, but I'm pretty sure it's jazz. And how he talks about like some of the more music theory sidey kind of things that are going on. It's really interesting. I think you listened to It's Over, Stronger Than You. Is that the Garnet one?
Mm-hmm.
And Love Like You. And yeah, very, very, very interesting. I'll send that to you, Tan, in case you want to check it out. But we'll leave this episode here.
Yeah, that
Uh,
sounds good.
is
Yeah.
there anything else we need to say, really, to finish it off on?
Well, it's sort of, it's a sort of very interesting episode because
Yeah,
the sort of Steven Universe has always been quite. I mean, there's antagonists, but
for sure.
there's not a lot of villains,
No.
and obviously calling the cluster evil just because it's going to destroy the Earth is kind of wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of I've heard people say that the Steven, just talking to the cluster is a
Mm-hmm.
bit silly, but I can't think of any other way that they would have dealt with it.
My response to that would be yes, it kind of is, but like that's what the show is. You know, it's not about confrontation and not solving things with words and a lot of it is, I mean, Spinell says you can't just fix everything with a song in the film, but he still kind of does. And like music and singing or just talking things out, understanding where people are coming from, that is a large part of Steven Universe. Um, so like to me, it makes perfect sense. If you suddenly came to like, if you knew, okay, there's this huge cluster that was gonna destroy this thing, now just watch this one episode of the show, then yeah, that'd probably be a bit odd, for sure. But yeah, Steven's always been about trying to empathize with things and understand them. It was the same with Centipedal. It was the same with Lapis when she was the mirror.
Yeah,
And it'll be the same with a whole bunch of other gems. Um, they won't always accept him, you know. We have that with, I think it's Eyeball at the end of this season. Um, you're not always going to change everyone's mind for sure. And I mean, again, as we talked about Spinell, there's a point, there's a part of that where that's the case as well. But like, it couldn't have been anything else, and nothing else would have worked the same. Really, I don't think.
yeah,
It is also interesting how he could connect with all of the gems. Like, is that just because he's a gem, but Peridot couldn't? So is it more to do with the fact that he's quite a powerful gem?
ooh,
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Suggestion time. I don't know. Uh, because yeah, Peridot couldn't hear them crying out anything. And granted, she is like, she was focused on the task at hand and had a very one-track mindset. about what she needed to do, but also Steven. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, there we go.
I think perhaps it could have been a bit better if they had more runtime, but they've only got 10 minutes.
I agree. I think that's the both in this and in Adventure Time, which are both 10-minute shows that have some incredible ideas, some incredible stories, some incredible episodes. Sometimes, if they had just had a little bit longer, um, they could be even better. But for the most part, they make the most of the 10 minutes they have, and they do what they can.
Yeah,
And, that's all we can ask for.
if you just looked at that one episode, yeah, it wouldn't feel like a sort of a great build up
No,
and payoff because
exactly.
um, you see these little gems that get
Mhm.
blasted, and you hear the story about them, and then you
Mhm.
see the big one, the big
Yep.
old cluster,
Yep.
and Stephen decides to talk to it.
Mhm.
But we've seen these little cluster gems for a long time now,
We
ever
have.
since
It's been
keeping it
set
together.
up. Indeed.
And so far, the only thing that Stephen's done is poof them.
Poof them.
But that was only after they formed,
Yeah.
and he's been learning about them
Mhm.
for a long old time,
Indeed.
and only now does he really understand what they're trying to do. Before that, they just seemed like monsters,
Yes, they did.
like any random monster, like a
Yeah.
corrupted gem. But they're not
Mhm.
corrupted gems.
No,
They're something very different.
they are.
A lot of the
Now,
episode is spent with Stephen just trying to talk to them,
it is.
and that's. I think it's good. I think it's
Yeah.
good what we
And
got.
I mean,
It
like,
does feel like
spoiler,
a short episode, though.
yeah, spoiler, like, granted, there's some epic, like, final action in the final season, but a lot of the final season is Steven talking to White Diamond
Yes, we do.
because
That
that's
is.
how Steven does it.
I'm excited for that one, but
Yeah, that
yeah,
would be so good, but it's a long way away. But that's how Steven works. It's always been about talking, you know.
yeah. Plus, it's not like
It's
we don't get a cluster fight scene later on.
we don't, and I was gonna say this isn't the last we've seen of the cluster. The cluster will
The,
return,
the cluster returns indeed.
and it returns in a pretty big way.
Would
Uh,
have been cool
mm-hmm.
if it was a song.
Mm.
Because
Mm.
I think you said there's not a lot of songs in season 3 aside from
Yeah,
Mr. Greg.
Mr. Greg is where almost all the songs are, and that is it.
If he'd sung with the
Yeah,
clusters, that would have been so much.
that would be really interesting if they did a
That would
similar
have been
kind of thing
so
to what
cool.
they do with the pebbles. Um, could do a very big kind of almost choral piece with that. That would have been pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. For
because
sure.
since it is this sort of climax piece, but not
Mhm.
much actually sort of happens,
Yeah.
which is it works,
Yeah.
but it is also perhaps not the sort of action that people wanted,
Yeah.
considering Jailbreak was like the last climax piece.
Yeah, like Jailbreak is huge.
Yeah.
You meet all these new gems, you discover that Garnet is a fusion, you get the great song with Garnet, they stop the gems, but also like the ship's been destroyed, lots of beach cities kind of messed up. You get Malachite, and then Lapis sacrifices herself to get rid of everything. Peridot's still out there, and then Connie calls, and it's just like, oh shoot. Season 2 ends with like a semi big moment with like Peridot officially kind of becoming Crystal Gem and calling Yellow Diamond a clod, which is great. And then, like we said last time, you get the coda in log date 7152. But then you start this season, it's like, oh, that's wrapped up. Well, we've got no, it's wrapped up too. Cool. that was a bit faster than I expected. And to be fair, I do remember that the first time I was watching through, I was like, oh shoot, I guess that's that done then. But yeah, I think it absolutely works. And season 3 is, like we said before, an incredibly strong season for the most part. So if you still had the cluster thing going on in the background, it'd probably hamper some of the things that go on later. So I think it works out for the best.
Yeah, it does.
I would say.
And it's a satisfying conclusion
Indeed.
to season 2, even though it's not in season 2.
It's true. Yeah, and it leads us straight into what we're going to deal with next time.
Exactly, that one is directly afterwards.
It is, and it involves Lapis, and properly restarts the Lapis not having a clue what she wants to do arc. That is Lapis from the start of the show to the end of it, pretty much.
Did you put in the Steven trauma?
I did add in the Steven trauma. Yes, I did.
Nice.
Just Red trauma last time, or the time before, and then we got Steven trauma this time.
No train Chan, but
no
there is there's drill Chan, but that doesn't count.
No, it does not. But yeah. With that all being said, I guess we'll leave this one here.
Indeed.
Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cabincast. For more episodes, go to www.cabincast.podbean.com or use the Podbean app. You can now also find us on iTunes and Pocket Casts under Cabincast and on YouTube. The uploads here are behind. Finally, you can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Cabincast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.